Hello YouTube, RoninKaze. Screwing up the beginning of the video. Division 2 content, legendary. The future. So, can you tell the future from indicating events? Is that even possible? So there's a lot of things, big data, astrology. Physics. There's a lot of things that you can use to predict the future. Is it important to predict the future? Not necessarily. It's important to have some idea of what's moving forward so that you can make the necessary adjustments, realizations, strategies to improve the outcomes. There is something to being spontaneous and just letting it fly. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you can accept those outcomes, if you're strong enough to accept all those outcomes, the outcomes that you might not want, but you get saddled with because you make some decisions that have no forethought, then the future on those is pretty unpredictable. You don't know, and you constantly live your life like that. And that's okay. When you're in a group or you're in a team, that laissez-faire, just like, oh, I'm just going to let it fly, is not the greatest team strategy if you're a member of a team. The member of your team's counting on you to fulfill your end, whatever your obligation is. So looking at the video here, you can't really tell what's good or bad. And that's sometimes in life you have no idea. Are there some precursors that start? Well, there's a guy got killed. Are there some precursors? Are there some indicators that will let you know, hey, this isn't going as well as it could? At this point on the right, everyone's died. So I'm the last man standing. Still early in the legendary. For those of you that don't play this game, if everyone dies at this point, you have to start over from the beginning. So it's a real pain in the butt. So you don't want to die at this point. It's the hardest content in the game. You randomly join up with 3 other people to have a foursome of people that try to do this mission. The reward for the mission is not great, but it is something that you kind of need. And you can see we're already advancing on the left side in Squad Alpha. So are you at the point in your life where you wanted to be? Did you think you'd be further along, further behind? Would you be finished school, not finished with school, married, not married, in a committed relationship, not in a committed relationship, car, no car? There's something to manifesting your future and making things work out for yourself. Is that really the future then, or is that just the continuation of a plan? If your plans are dependent on other people, then you're always going to have some level of randomness because you can't control other people. We've talked about that before. You can't convince them to do anything if you're not happy where you are right now. We talked about just going ahead and keeping your head down and just keep doing what you're doing. In those scenarios, you're hoping for a future state that, you're treading water, so to speak. Now, what I would tell you, I've argued on this channel quite a long time about free will. And so what I'm saying is there is no determination on what's going to happen. on Squad Delta, everyone died, and then I carried them. So was that foretold? And look at, we're moving pretty far ahead. Look at on the left, we're pushing the spawn on this next area. The Squad Delta is not even done yet. And look at us pushing on the left on Squad Alpha. This is normally when I ask you to like, subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, share, comment. Maybe go to the Discord channel, just pop in, say hello. Need your help to get to 500. I'd appreciate everyone's help. I really like that you've come over to the channel. I like that you listen to some of the content. If you have some things that you'd like me to talk about or focus on, I'd love to do that as well. All right, back to the future. So you can see we're just rocking and rolling on Squad Alpha. I don't know whoever's doing that, Roxy. I will cut you with water. YouTube with water. So the future is something we can manifest in some cases. In some cases, we have to be open to it. Uh-oh. Looks like there's trouble in paradise. YouTube, say it's not so. YouTube, say it's not so. Bye-bye, Squad Alpha. Can Squad Delta get all the way to the end? Yes, there are some indicators, but they don't have to be. They're not set in stone. I want you to think more like they're signposts telling you what's up ahead. You don't have to take that way if you don't want to. If your goal is to get like a degree, a bachelor's, a master's, a doctorate, then you kind of know what you have to do to get those things. If you want to have a family and children, it's pretty easy to do that. It's not easy to keep that going, so that's a different thing. So part of what makes the future, you can passively let the future happen to you. You can actively try to shape your future. Those are all different types of lives. I had to speed this up and cut some stuff out. So we have a whole host of things. We have problem solving we've talked about death, we talked about being successful, we've talked about, I'm in a bad situation, how do I get out of a bad situation, how do I sell, how do I persuade people. Ultimately, in one of the videos I talked to you about framing, and framing is kind of what you do to determine what success is for you. Conversely, what failure looks like to you. I talked about there's a French philosopher, Voltaire, who wrote a book called Candide, and part of the thing, I think it was being sarcastic about Candide, was always like he'd have horrible things happen to him in his party, and he'd say, "This is the best of all possible worlds." Never open a second doorway. So I could fret on that. I'm an older person, so I go, you never open that second door. I just shut my mouth and I just keep playing. And so when something deviates from what you expected, how do you deal with that? If you didn't anticipate that in your future, and now it's been delivered to you that this is what your future is going to be, how do you handle that? I'll just reflect real quick. My dad died when I was 18. I had no plan. I had no idea to see that in the future. And I reacted how I reacted. You really don't have any choice. So maybe I'm coming at this from a different scenario. What if you might grow up and you might not have as many resources, so you might have to look at a whole different kind of thing. but you're going to define what those resources are. Everyone needs food and water, right? We're not talking about that at this point. We're talking about how you go through your life, what you strive for, how you make a future, how you see the future. Is it important to see the future? If you live in the West, that's just something that you just have to take that into account. That's part of what these societies are about. It's not set in stone. You see some milestones, some mile markers. You kind of gauge if that's where you want to be. And think about when you're a child, you don't really care about the future. You're 5, 6, 7 years old. This is the final part in the video. So we obviously got to the final end. Let's see if we can win here. The future of your relationship. If you want to have a relationship with someone, if you both are honest with each other, it's pretty easy to figure out what you have to do. Unfortunately, YouTube, because you know something now doesn't mean it's always going to be that way. So that's no guarantee that you'll be together forever, because it's not. Because people change during all this. So you have to always communicate with the person. You got to continually reframe. You got to ask why. How are things going? Why are things going good? Why are they not going so good? And then you make plans with each other. That's for a relationship. One of the interesting things that I would submit to you about game playing, I played this game, The Division, enough in these pickup groups where we don't communicate or talk at all, and we're successful. And I've showed you times where we've not been successful. So what makes us successful? If we can't communicate, it's because we all kind of know what the same goal is. In the middle of this game, the person I'm next to right now that unfortunately died, sorry bro, they switched to that they were going to have heal people, and that's great. These are lower watch level people. I think I showed you a video recently where there's different watch levels, different shield levels, and how it affects things. You can just see I have more armor. I'm going to stay up longer than my friend next to me. We're all hoping for this future. We were hoping to get here. And that's in your life. You're hoping to have a family and quote unquote settle down, be successful in your job. If you want to be successful in your job, excuse me, how do you define that? Is it money? How much money? Sorry, gosh, I must be sick. How much money do you want? And then the thing is, to make a certain amount of money, you have to have some prerequisites. And so what happens is you look forward, you also start looking backwards, and we get into this thing. All these things I tell you are very connected. You know, living in the moment, not worrying about the future is a good way to kind of live. But if you have no concept of the future, how do you know where you're going? Well, in this kind of laid back lifestyle that you might choose, you at least got to be pointed in the right direction. And you may be okay meandering through life, and that's okay. If you're really driven, it's the shortest point between the shortest line between 2 points is a straight line. You're not going to deviate. You're just going right for your goals. And depending on how you're wired, that may make you happy or not. But what I would tell you in general is you want to have some future. It's a probability, like quantum mechanics. There's a probability of what type of futures you're going to have and what things you do as prerequisites that get you there. There's no guarantees in life. Except you're going to die. And you already were born. But how long that is, who knows? So Squad Alpha, we hardly knew ye. You started off so good. You pushed really hard. And what you wanted was this life of a brigadier, of a privateer, of a pirate. You just jump up there and we're going to really take it to them. And then we wiped. Squad Delta, we had some setbacks. But here we are. We're getting close to finishing. Again, a time where I'd like, ooh, don't die. Like, subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, share. Get the notifications. So your future. You control your life. You can shape your future. You can be in control. But you have got to want to do it. So YouTube, thank you again. This is RoninKaze talking a little bit about the future. Have a good one.